Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you with G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 27. And this book was absolutely excellent. This follows up to the Storm Shadow Snake Eyes story that we covered in issue 26 and takes it a step further and leaves you on a cliffhanger. So let's go ahead and dive into this book. The print date on it was September 1984. So if I did my math right, this book is now 37 years old. Anyone else feel old yet? The creative team was Larry Hama's script, Frank Springer doing pencils, Andy Mashwisky doing inks, Rick Parker doing lettering, George Rosas doing coloring, Denny O'Neil was the editor, and Jim Shooter was the editor-in-chief. Now, if you remember last issue, the Joes thought that Junkyard was betraying them, leading Cobra Commander and Destro, Zartan, and the Baroness to their location. But here, it says that Blastic Dog never intended to lead us to the Joes. It purposely led us into quicksand. So they're trying to fire at Junkyard. So I like this because it sets up the, not the over arc, but kind of like plot B, essentially, of the book, because there's Joes out in the Florida swamplands trying to flush out the Cobra High Command, and they think that Junkyard has betrayed them. But all the while, the two captors, or captives, I guess you could say, got away in all of this. So now they're trying to lay in wait for the Joes. And they go, "It works, Firefly." Of course it does. I said it, didn't I? It's called the Malayan Tiger Gate. But there won't be any tigers coming down this trail. Only Joes. And the way I like it kind of keeps you on a cliffhanger as you hear that Malayan tiger trap go twang. The trap is sprung. Let's see what we've impelled. And then we get into the A plot, which is Hawk, I think his name's Steeler, and Scarlet talking about Snake Eyes and how they kind of recruited him into the Joes in the early days after their tours together. I think it was in Vietnam in this issue. But yeah, they hunt him down. They find Snake Eyes in a cabin. And I like how, as they're hunting him down, you know, he goes to, where is it, Japan, and kind of takes up a quiet residence. And they're saying that the lumberjacks are saying that he's a werewolf and whatnot. So when they actually find his cabin, Hawk comes up and he's like, "Snake Eyes? That's just a wolf." So they leave it behind. And Hawk's like, he's going to leave that poor animal behind all by itself? Hawk, that poor animal's a wolf. He don't need no walkies, and he thinks Alpo's for sissies. So I don't know if that's supposed to be Timber, because in the books, in the comics that I've read, I've not seen Timber anywhere yet. So I just don't know if the cartoons just sort of took that wolf and sort of expounded on it. But then again, I'm just still diving into these books, so we shall see. Now what I like here is how once they bring Snake Eyes back into the fold, they have Scarlet training the Joes. And she goes, you know, I called on him. And he goes, his punch was awkward but phony. Halfway through my throw, I understood that he was letting me throw him. He never lost control. He had the skill of a high-ranked black belt. He was doing so good that he didn't need to win. He had nothing to prove. He was the best. So he let me win to save my pride. Sound familiar? It's the exact same thing he did for Storm Shadow in front of Storm Shadow's father and uncle. And what's funny is Scarlet says that she wanted to know more about him afterwards. And what I like is even before we start getting into the meat and the potatoes of the story, we still don't really see Snake Eyes' face. The camo hat that he wears shields his eyes. And when they go out and she wants to know more about him, his face is always in silhouette. And she goes, I was just starting to think I was getting... that That was all I was getting out of him on that subject, meaning his sister. You'd think he'd belong to his training. You'd think he belonged to some secret society that isn't supposed to exist. We walked and talked about everything. I found that underneath that hard-boiled, mysterious aura was a small-town boy who missed his home and was very, very lonely. By the time we decided to take the ferry to Manhattan for dinner, we were pals. I guess I wanted to be a lot more than a friend, or I wouldn't have gotten miffed when he told me that he liked me because I reminded him of his sister, his twin sister. They'd been close, like there was a psychic link between them. He told me about carrying a photo of her through 2 tours in Nam. He believed that as long as nothing happened to that photo, nothing could happen to him. And so I like the relationship that's built up between Snake Eyes and Scarlet. And when you get good G.I. Joe comics, this is still intact, where you kind of feel like there's more about them, but they never really give into it. And it just makes for a really great dynamic between the both of them. Now, spoilers, if you want to read this book, we're going to kind of show why Snake Eyes wears the disguise that he wears. So they're going back into a tour. The planes are getting ready to explode. Scarlet gets trapped. And when the 2 helicopters collide, the aviation gas lit up immediately, and a plume of burning vapor punched right through that plexiglass door window and hit Snake Eyes square in the face like a boxcar full of Roman candles. The crash knocked me out cold. Rock and Roll told me later that he saw Snake Eyes carry me out of the wreckage with his head still in flames. He was standing there, holding me safe with his ruined mouth opening and closing in his ravaged face, and no sound coming out. So when we talked about the earlier books and they were talking about Snake Eyes being horribly disfigured, here we go. This is why. He saved someone that he considered a close best friend. And so he comes back to the States. You see Scarlet try to hug him and seem to get close, but he takes his hand off her and walks away. And you're thinking, that's kind of a jerk move. He goes, I like to think that he doesn't blame me for what happened to him. That he didn't want me to feel like I was indebted to him. I'd give anything in the world to know what thoughts rattle around inside his mind. So I like how they get really into the backstory of Snake Eyes here and how a potential relationship between them was kind of snuffed before it could even begin, because Snake Eyes didn't want to think that Scarlet had to care for him or to nurture him, etc., so forth. And then we get into the modern times. Again, this is Storm Shadow's uncle. He kind of runs this Cuban Chinese restaurant in Little Spain. What do you call it? Hold on, where was it? Did you say Little Spain or Little? Oh, let me see if I can find it. Hold on a second. Here we go. So it occurred to me, who would suspect the overweight owner of a Cuban Chinese restaurant in Spanish Harlem, there it is, to be a ninja? Devious, no? And the uncle is here because he's trying to, stay in touch with Snake Eyes and try to hunt down Storm Shadow for killing his uncle. And Snake Eyes believes the same thing because he was there, as we saw in the last issue. So the whole book goes into a flurry fight between these once brothers. And what I like is, here we go, Storm Shadow running down the streets of Manhattan, and this little boy goes, Moon Knight! I saw that and I could not help but laugh out loud. And I like how the paneling's done, where we get this long stretch, close-up shots. It adds to the intensity of the book. Especially the rooftop fights. I do feel like there's this guy, going, I give up, man. What do you think this is all about? A new breakdance act? I kind of feel like a Snake Eyes reference, not Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow references their first fight way back in, what was it, G.I. Joe number 21 or whatever it was. I'll make sure to leave a card. I can't remember the issue number. But remember how the book was complete silence, no dialogue whatsoever? I kind of think that during this fight, it would have been cool to reference back to that and have no dialogue, just the silence until the exposition needed to be said. That would have been just a really cool callback. But anyways, the fight happens. Storm Shadow talks about how it was you at Cobra Island that I fought. And again, Snake Eyes, being who he is, saves Storm Shadow in a particular way, which I am not going to give away. I want you guys to read this book. But what happens is we're even now. All debts are clear. Stand up, my brother. I have something to tell you. Now I'm going to leave it here because this explains why Storm Shadow is in Cobra and why all debts are repaid between these once two very close friends that became like brothers, hence why Storm Shadow led him into his clan. So guys, this is excellent writing. Larry Hama really knew, because like I said, he was a vet of Vietnam, and you can see his knowledge shining through in this book. And he knows how to make characters engaging. That's why, to me, the 90s Wolverine run means a lot to me, because they really, I don't know, there's just something about it that made Logan very interesting. And it's the same with these two particular characters, along with Scarlet. And I like Hawk, and I think the guy's name's Steeler, I forget. But yeah, the dynamics between these characters just make this book excellent. So if you've enjoyed this, please, first and foremost, support your local comic shop and see if they have a copy in stock. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that Yo Joe bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and we love hearing your thoughts and your feedback and talking with y'all down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.